One thing for sure, our planet is overpopulated, and a second planet will not save us. Earth is approximately 4.54 billion years old. Humans have existed for approximately 200,000 years. Throughout the majority of human history, population growth has been moderate. As soon as we began cultivating the land, however, the human population began to grow exponentially. By the time of Christ's birth, the population had reached 170 million. Due to significant advances in medicine and technology, the rate of human population growth accelerated. With the advent of industrialization, more food was produced, and people began to live longer. In the second half of the 18th century, the global population increased from 597 million to 1 billion. The introduction of antibiotics and vaccines at the beginning of the 20th century reduced mortality. In just 200 years, the global population exploded to 7 billion. If the current growth rate persists, there will be 11 billion people on Earth by the turn of the next century. Faced with these statistics, some are tearing their hair out, contemplating the ongoing environmental catastrophes, while others believe that exponential population growth is a minor issue in comparison to the challenges we will face in the near future. They sometimes present arguments such as, the entire current world population could fit in Texas with the same population density as New York, implying that, from their perspective, our planet is virtually uninhabited. Where can we find the truth? And do we possess the final opportunity to migrate to other planets? Let's attempt to see plainly. Hello everyone, welcome back. You are watching Zeey, the Space Fanatics. Subscribe to our channel so you won't miss any update. The second half of the 1960s was marked by widespread anxieties about the future of humanity. A writer named Harry Harrison, for instance, published the science fiction novel titled Make Room, in 1966. The book, which described a dystopian world in which too many people competed for too few resources, served as the basis for the 1973 film Soylent Green, which depicted a hellish future. Do you recall it? Paul Ehrlich, a biologist at Stanford University, has been the most influential and, according to some, also the most frightening individual. His 1968 book, The Population Bomb, sold millions of copies and argued that the human race was on the verge of extinction due to exponential population growth. The verbal equivalent of a gut punch, Dr. Ehrlich's introductory statement was, "The battle to feed all of humanity is over." He then predicted that hundreds of millions of people would die of starvation in the 1970s, with 65 million of them being Americans, that densely populated India would be condemned, and that by 1985, the planet would no longer be able to sustain humanity. After more than half a century, it appears that Ehrlich's predictions have been disproved by evidence. None of what he predicted in his book has materialized. There are presently 8 billion people on Earth, and everything appears to be running smoothly. What then is the catch? In the same year that The Population Bomb was published, on July 9, 1968, at the National Institute of Health in Bethesda, Maryland, scientist John Calhoun placed 8 white mice in a 2.7 by 1.3 meter square enclosure. This marked the beginning of an experiment that would influence ethologists, behavioral psychologists, and researchers for decades. However, on that summer day 50 years ago, Calhoun was unaware of all of this. He was a mere ethologist in his 50s who specialized in animal behavior. He, like Ehrlich, recognized that the world's human population was expanding too quickly, and he wished to comprehend what would occur if the natural habitat became too small to accommodate everyone. The rodents chosen as test subjects were the finest specimens from the National Institute of Mental Health. They were deposited in an environment, dubbed Universe 25, where they did not need to defend themselves from predators or even find food. There are no animals, no traps, no extreme temperatures, and no risks of vivisection. The rodents were primarily responsible for eating and reproducing. Exploration of the region and tumultuous social interactions characterized the initial days. Following this, relationships solidified and the population began to grow exponentially, doubling every 2 months on average. In August 1969, when the rodent population reached approximately 600 individuals, the colony began to exhibit signs of collapse. As anticipated by Calhoun, food and water continued to be abundant, but there was a breakdown in social roles. Mating began to decline, infant mortality reached 96%, including cannibalism, and reproduction ceased entirely. In this environment, female rodents ceased to reproduce, and the few that did neglected their young. Others, referred to as the beautiful ones, withdrew to privileged positions, never pursuing mating or combat. Introspectively narcissistic, they ate, slept, and only concerned about themselves. Others became pansexual and attempted to mate with any available rat, while some males attacked females and their progeny. Alone and in peril from male threats, the females sought refuge in higher niches, bringing their young with them. However, they were unable to care for the young because they were too busy guarding their territory. The majority of the offspring were neglected and left to perish. This resulted in the total destruction of the utopian universe 25. After 2 years, the population began to decline, and on March 1, 1970, the last baby was born. The experiment concluded 5 years after it began with the extinction of the rat population and the demise of the last rodent. Okay, it's a gruesome and immensely depressing experiment, but what was that about social roles causing a collapse? In response to Malthusian theories that exponential population growth would lead to extinction due to resource scarcity, the Universe 25 experiment was conceived. Calhoun intended to demonstrate that food resources were not the issue, but rather the lack of available social positions for too many people. Indeed, the low mortality conditions, as a consequence of the design of Universe 25, led to the survival of an excessive number of organisms. Within a few generations, all available social positions in Universe 25's physical space were filled. In human terms, this would be referred to as lack of job opportunities, a sense of uselessness, and mass frustration. Calhoun asserts that, no matter how sophisticated man might become, once the number of individuals capable of filling social roles vastly exceeds the number of roles available, the result is the disruption of the social organization. But does the Universe 25 experiment accurately predict the fate of an overpopulated planet? Diverse opinions exist on this subject. The core of the objection is the distinction between the experiment's subjects, rodents, and humans. Considering what is occurring in our society today, where available roles are decreasing despite there being no shortage of resources, the differences appear to be minimal. Despite the peril posed by the sense of futility that pervades the lives of those who feel excluded in an increasingly competitive world, the explosive growth of the world's population appears to be regarded as the least of our generation's global problems. Some experts, obviously delusional, even assert that our planet could comfortably sustain up to 50 billion people. This is a very discouraging viewpoint, conjuring images of a termite-infested planet whose entire surface is paved and inhabited by a vast urban expansion. A militarized civilization comprised of small, artificially fed robots. Indeed, achieving this catastrophe would be so expensive. And at the expense of the lives of billions of other creatures, because ours is not the only species on this planet, and because the expansion of the human population and its demand for food, energy, and wealth has sown destruction throughout the natural world. On land, in water, and in the air, humans have hunted and driven away every animal, destroying or reducing their habitats, and in many cases eradicating species on purpose. This has been done by both wealthy and impoverished nations, though frequently for distinct reasons. Only by stealing, exploiting and murdering everything that crossed our path, as if resources were limitless, have we been able to sweep the issue of overpopulation under the rug. However, it appears that the time has arrived to pay the bill. The fact that Ehrlich's specific predictions have not yet manifested in the manner or time frame he originally predicted is almost irrelevant. To deny that issues such as population growth, inequality, malnutrition, pollution, global warming, and ocean acidification pose an immediate threat to our long-term survival is to deny objective reality. So what should one do? At this virtually irreversible stage, we can no longer afford to employ nuanced philosophies in our approach to the problem, despite the fact that it is incredibly complex. Birth control, sterilization, funding for family planning programs, making modern contraception legal, free, and accessible everywhere, even in remote areas, and most importantly, establishing a demographic policy based on an optimal population size and working to achieve it are all required. One thing must be made abundantly clear, however: whatever solution is implemented, it must be motivated by the ethical principle of environmental conservation and the recognition of the equal dignity of all Earth's creatures. Therefore, there should be no more animal exploitation, the permanent closure of farms and slaughterhouses, and widespread use of synthetic meat. The target? Reduce the population drastically over a century. 3 billion people could be the optimal population size to maintain a high level of creativity and the free flow of ideas without overburdening the environment. This may be all the information we intended to convey in this video, but there is one more point to make. In the 1960s and 1970s, concomitant with the height of the space age, scientists pondered the possibility of future space settlements. Migration of humans and industry to other celestial bodies appeared to be a potential solution to overpopulation and environmental degradation, among its many benefits. Why should we be concerned about overpopulation on Earth when we have the entire universe to explore? Hadn't Europe already resolved its demographic issues by relocating its surplus population to the New World before Columbus's discovery? So why could we not proceed with this procedure? Numerous scientists and proponents of space migration, including Stephen Hawking, Robert Zubrin, and Elon Musk, have emphasized that interplanetary migration is the only viable long-term defense against extinction. Whether the cause is anthropogenic climate change, nuclear war, etc., or the impact of an asteroid, a gamma-ray burst, or some other cosmic phenomenon, human civilization is vulnerable when confined to a single location. Okay, having a planet B as an escape route from cosmic peril seems like a good notion. However, it should be obvious that not all Earth's inhabitants could be relocated to a hypothetical new planet. It would only be a way to save, say, 1,000 people, giving our species an opportunity not to become extinct, but it would not save everyone. Similarly, we must regrettably abandon the notion that a massive migration can address the problem of a crowded planet. Consider that the present rate of population growth on Earth is approximately 80 million per year. If we wanted to maintain the current population, we would have to transport 80 million people per year to Mars or the Moon. Even with technology far more advanced than ours, this endeavor is completely impossible. In conclusion, just to be clear, there is no way out. The answer to this enormous and underappreciated problem lies within ourselves, in our willingness to change. Okay, this video ends here. How did you find it? Is there anything you'd like to say? Tell us in the comments, subscribe and ring the bell, not to miss any update.